2020's been a pretty interesting year for motorsports. I think a lot of firsts for organizers, and our team actually didn't participate in any organized racing this year. And if I'm being honest, it had less to do with the uncertainty of racing through the pandemic and everything to do with the fact that we actually didn't have a car to race with. Hi, my name is Jason Liu, and I am a driver for Team Part Out Motorsports, a grassroots endurance racing team. So our team actually started racing back in 2018. It was just a group of guys that had done a lot of lapping days together and wanted to take it to the next level, get a little bit more serious, and participate in wheel-to-wheel racing. And back in 2018, the best series for us was Chump Car Canada. You know, we were, a group of almost 8 guys who all wanted to get some seat time. So when you're thinking about endurance racing, you get up to 16 hours through a weekend that can be split among all the participants. So, we thought it was going to be the best place for us to get started. We decided that for that very first season that we were going to build a Honda Fit. We've been given the tip that Hondas tend to be the most reliable when we're thinking about doing endurance racing at the grassroots level. And I don't know, just something about that car that really caught our attention as a potential sleeper in endurance racing. That first season, the car did actually quite well. And I think in Shannonville, which was our first race ever as a team, first race for the car, it finished in the top 10 within the class, and perhaps top 10 overall. But unfortunately, at the second race at Motorsport GP, which is pretty daunting track for first timers, the car was totaled in a crash involving no other drivers. So chalk that one up to lack of experience. Going offline in the 7th hour of the race to let some faster cars go by. Car got caught in the marbles, and it was at that point, driver is just a passenger, straight to the wall. After that experience, we were a little bit discouraged, but at the same time, really wanted to get the most out of that first season. So we actually just sprinted like mad to build a replacement car. We really liked the Fit, but realized that to be a little bit more competitive, probably look for something that as a baseline has a little bit more potential in it. So we opted to get a 8th generation Civic Si. Not the best color that we could find, but after a while it kind of grows on you. I'm thinking about the end of the 2018 season, and the Civic was performing quite well, but we were still going through the R&D phase of things, and hadn't really known that throughout an entire racing day how the car was going to behave. The consumables, tires, how long could we go on a single set? And one of the issues we ran into was the brakes. Now they were jamming up, they were creating too much heat, and it actually created this incident where our calipers, our brakes, essentially caught on fire. And I kid you not, I have never seen a brake pad get so mangled and deformed. When we pulled the car into the pits, checked the brakes, and noticed that it was smoking, it was clearly on fire. When we pulled the pad out, it was on the backing plates and essentially bent into a V shape. After the 2018 season, we really started to focus on reliability for the Civic, and most important thing at that time was just to fix the brake issue. So we ended up putting in some spare AP racing calipers that we had, got a custom kit fabricated for the Civic, and combined with some endless pads that pretty much squared away the issue. So what we were left with was a extremely competitive car, super reliable. In fact, in 2019 at Shannonville, we came second place overall, and it was a good feeling. It was a lot of work. We already trashed the car to get there, and was quite a proud moment for our team of fairly green racers. Now, unfortunately, good things were not meant to last for us. And at the season finale in 2019, the Civic was collected in what I would describe as a unavoidable incident. And unfortunately, the car was basically totaled on site. We could tell that it was going to be too tough to bring it back. So that kind of wrapped up our 2019 season. Where does that leave us? 2 cars in less than 2 years, really. So needless to say, we felt like we needed to take a little bit of a break, if anything, just to let our wallets rest a little bit. We knew this wasn't going to be the end of endurance racing for us. I mean, at this point, we'd all been bit by the bug, and we're just kind of itching to get back into racing. So in November of 2019, we actually got this opportunity to take a look at this RSX Type S, which is actually the car that's beside me right here. Now, this car is looking pretty tired, and that's because it's gone through quite a few different racing series in its lifetime. As far as we know, this car originally started its racing career as a car built for the Coney Challenge. And at some point, we believe it probably raced in a NASA series as well, before making its way up into Canada to continue racing in the Super Production Challenge out of Quebec. And that was where it was most recently used. We actually committed to going to see the car just based off of description and pictures. It was quite a drive to get there from Toronto to go to Quebec and then back. And just as our luck would have it, it was basically a blizzard that day as well. I feel bad a little bit for having towed this car in an open trailer with snow and slush and salt everywhere. But that's racing. You gotta do what you gotta do. Fast forward to today. It's almost the end of 2020, and we are now preparing this car to campaign in Lucky Dog Racing Canada 2021. Part of the appeal of picking up the RSX was, it came with a bunch of quality parts. It was already prepped for motor racing, and having gone through 2 complete bottom-up builds in 2 years, don't get me wrong, I don't think we regret any of those decisions to build those cars. We learned a ton, but getting something that had already been in motor racing really sped up our timeline, and to be honest, saved a ton of money as well. If you think about how much we paid for this RSX, which on paper should perform much better than the Civic, it's almost neck and neck. And I would say the parts in here are of a higher quality than what we had in the Civic. Some of the most notable parts that the car came with, obviously the cage, and it looks to be a really well built one. Definitely an area you don't want to skimp on. Full fire suppression. We've got the one in the cabin that has access to the driver, and the one under the hood pointed at the engine. One of the parts that I'm particularly excited about that this car came with is the fuel cell out back. I believe it's slightly higher capacity than OEM, which in endurance racing, super beneficial to help maximize the stint duration and minimize the amount of time you're in the pits, as well as the dry brake fuel filler, which is a nice safety feature to have when you're trying to fill up the car in a race situation. Under the hood, the car currently has a K24 K20 combo. Now, personally, I'm not a Honda guy, but I've been told this is the hot setup to go with. A K24A2 and a Type S head. And to further sweeten the deal, the car also came with a high-tech manifold. Possibly the flashiest piece of kit that came with this car are a set of 3-way Moton coilovers. And we're taking advantage of the winter months right now to get them rebuilt locally. There's a little bit of oil weeping on one of the front struts. I don't even want to think about how much those were brand new, but very, very happy that we have them. To get this car roadworthy again and participating in the racing series, there's a bit of work that we have to do over the winter. Get the suspension back in when it's rebuilt, and honestly go through all the safety equipment, check the expiration dates, and just give everything a refresh. For sure, the seat and the harness, they're probably expired at this point, so we'll want to put in a set of new hardware there. Come spring, hopefully by April, the snow will be cleared up here in Toronto. We'll take it out to the track and honestly put it through its paces. Do some endurance simulations, see how the car behaves for 1 hour stint, 2 hour stint, just so that we get to know the car a little bit better. Needless to say, we're super pumped to get back into racing. We were just expecting 3 races this year for Lucky Dog, but to our surprise, it's going to be 4. We have pretty high hopes for this car for this season, and fairly optimistic so far, but with racing, you never know. While we race this year, we also wanted to document the process of participating in an endurance series. So that's kind of what you're watching right here. First couple of months, we're going to go through how we build this car up. What are we doing through the winter to get it ready for the season? And once the season comes around, we're going to have a camera with us at every single race, kind of documenting the experience of it all. And spoiler alert, it's a ton of fun, but you can imagine, and we kind of felt when we first started participating, that it's quite daunting. It's a lot of information all at once. There's a lot of participants, though everyone's super friendly. They're quite experienced, and so how do you kind of close that gap to make this activity a lot more approachable for others to participate in? I still remember when we first started, we had tons of questions about what platform should we commit to. Through the past couple of years, we kind of noticed that certain cars tend to always perform better than others. Other things around, what are the right tires to run? What are the right pads to run? A lot of us had track day experience, but when you're trying to push a car for 8 hours, what's optimal, not only from a performance perspective, but also from a budget perspective, is quite different. So we're gonna try and document this whole thing. Some serious stuff, so a lot of goofing around, and hopefully you guys will be here to participate in this journey with us.